Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. We're on Harada Sanosuke's route. And in the last episode, we just did that a little while ago, so I'm not really going to recap that much. But, yeah, we actually helped fight a battle, and, so Harada got to see firsthand just how I heal. And we're a little bit afraid that spooked him, but I had the feeling that it didn't. But I really wanted to continue tonight because I really want to have another conversation with him and see if that's really changed our relationship at all or anything, which I don't think it should have because I think he's a stand-up guy, but I want to see. Alright, so anyway, you can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. When we arrived, we were instructed to stay at the Kama Inn, a lodging traditionally reserved for Hatamoto. Even with the losses we'd suffered at Toba Fushimi, the inn could barely contain all of the Shinsengumi. Hijikata traveled to Edo Castle almost daily to discuss the future of the Shinsengumi with the senior shogunate ministers.
I wonder if Soji's alright. When I saw him on the boat, he looked almost dead. Well, Dr. Masumoto's taking care of him, right? I'm sure he'll be fine. I hope so. Kondo's not healing very well either. I guess I'm just worried.
Why is Kondo not healing well all of a sudden? He was healing well before. Was it the boat trip? The loss at Toba Fushimi seemed to still weigh heavily on their minds, and they weren't as cheerful as usual.
Those new guns, they were incredible. I thought it'd take time to reload them like a matchlock, but I saw people load those things while they were marching. I even saw some people load and fire lying down. They fire so fast, there wasn't any way we could charge in without just getting mowed down, and the range was ridiculous. Well, even Hijikata said that the world's changing. Pretty soon swords won't mean anything.
Shimada, perhaps tired of their misery, finally spoke up.
You know, it's not like we're totally lost already. Even if the Satsuma and Choshu have England behind them, we still have France. If we need new firearms, we can always buy them from France through the shogunate. Maybe, but even if we got new weapons, what good will it do us if we don't have anyone who can use them?
You learn.
Our men don't have any training with guns. Even if we started, it'd take a long time before we could hope to stand our ground in a fight.
Maybe not that long. Train really, really intensely.
We're screwed however you look at it. What do you call this kind of situation? Sunk? Hopeless?
Why do you look so happy about it then? Nagakura smiled weakly, his usual cheer nowhere to be seen. After a moment, he turned to me. Look at that muscular body of his.
What are you doing over there in the corner, Chizuru?
Hiding. Oh, I'm just getting these clothes ready to wash, that's all.
You don't need to do that. You're not a servant.
I know, I want to do something. There's not much else I can do. They put their lives on the line whenever they went to battle, but I did nothing. If I didn't do something, I was going to go crazy.
Hey, is it true that a demon showed up at the magistrate's office back in Kyoto?
I froze.
I heard you couldn't even touch him with that little spear of yours, Sano.
Look at that smug look. Don't tease my man. Oh. Yeah, you're kicking him while he's down. Harada glared at Nagakura.
Whoa, don't give me that look. You were fighting a monster. There's no way a human could beat something like that. So, I guess that the Satsuma and their pals weren't enough. Now we've got to fight demons too?
You've been fighting them.
This sure is a far cry from back in the day when we could walk around Kyoto feeling good about ourselves. We can still win. The commander is not one to lose or flee. Yeah? So what's our plan? You seem to know something we don't.
If we have enough men who can withstand getting shot, then the enemy's guns will be useless. Do you mean the Furies? Saito's eyes slid to me for a fraction of a second as he finished, and I shrank back. Nagakura and Harada looked disgusted.
You're telling me we're going to use the Furies as a bullet shield? That's crazy!
It is only one possibility. If we can formulate the better plan, then of course that would be preferable.
Well, either way, we can't make any real decisions until Hijikata gets back. There's no point in talking about this right now.
Harada stood up and excused himself from the room. I glanced around quickly, then ran off after him. One-on-one time! I'd been meaning to speak to him, but hadn't been able to find the time before. I didn't want to ask him for help, but ever since Shironoi's visit, Sanin had come to me every day. He always wanted the same thing, my cooperation in experiments to strengthen the Fury Core. Harada. He turned to look at me, his expression downcast. Harada,
What is it? Do you need something?
The words died in my throat under his cold stare. Why did he feel so far away when he was standing right in front of me?
Sorry. I've got some stuff I need to think about. Alone. Can this wait?
Oh. Without waiting for a response, he turned and walked away. Harada. But he was already gone. I bit my lip. Things were difficult. No doubt Harada had a lot to worry about, and I didn't need to add my personal problems to those worries. This isn't the time. I shook my head and tried to forget my concerns. I was sewing in the corner of my room that evening when a shadow stepped through my door. Yeah, here we are again. I knew immediately who it was. He was like darkness itself, and he came every evening to torment me.
Good evening. Sewing so late at night. You're a very hard worker.
Good evening. I glanced around. There was no one nearby, of course, but that hardly surprised me. Sanin always made sure his visits were unobserved.
There's no need for you to do that, you know. If you need something sewn, you only need to speak to the inn's mistress.
No, I want to do this myself. There's so little I can do to help, I thought.
That's not true. There's a great deal you can do.
I knew what he would say next. I stood quickly. I have to... Don't glare at me like that. But before I could take a step, Sanin's hand snaked around my wrist. Please let me go!
How long will you run from this? If you do nothing but hide behind the Shinsengumi swords, you will never be useful. You should know that well by now.
His eyes bored into me like a pair of heated spikes. My throat tightened.
Unless you help me, the other men will likely meet the same fate as Inoue and Yamazaki.
That's a pretty deep stab in the heart.
Will you sit back and watch your comrades die, when you could have saved them? Help me with my experiments, and we may be able to save tens, even hundreds of lives. Why can't you understand that?
Suddenly, I saw Inoue dead in his bloody uniform, and Yamazaki slowly dying on the ship. A wave of misery and regret washed over me. I'd already seen too many friends die. I never wanted to have to feel that again. Perhaps Sanin felt the same. But how would turning people into monsters help? Furies had a place now, in the middle of a war, but what would happen to them when the war ended? Were the things they gained by drinking the water of life worth throwing away their futures? Well, the idea is that if he uses your blood, maybe it could be tempered enough that there wouldn't be any bad side effects at all and they could live normal lives once the war's over.
Besides, you're treated very well, because there is still some hope for the Shinsengumi. The Shogun will lose, however. Once that happens, do you really think they'll want to continue taking care of a demon? You and I are not human. There is not a man in the Fury Corps who would shun or look down upon you. And you would be helping everyone in the Shinsengumi. It is, as they say, a win-win situation.
His logic certainly seemed sound. I felt cornered. Was he right? Would the day come when Harada and Nagakura and everyone else would abandon me? Before I could respond, I heard footsteps outside and the door slid open. You're not Harada! Darn it!
Sanin, Heisuke is calling. He wishes to speak with you.
Sanin frowned, but said nothing and let go of my hand.
Very well. Yukimura, please consider what I've said.
Saito watched him leave, then turned to me. Did you just save me, Saito?
What were the two of you discussing? Did it concern the Fury Corps?
No, it's nothing. You don't need to worry about it. I forced a smile and scuttled past Saito and out of the room. Sanin continued to hound me, but even though I knew I was a monster, I didn't want to be part of his experiments. The Shinsengumi had helped me countless times, and had never been able to repay them. I was well aware of that, but it didn't feel right that my debt should be paid by submitting to whatever Sanin had planned for me. I wanted to do something, but something else. Can't I just agree to give him a little blood and that's it? Harada. I thought back on what he'd said to me. What should I do? Did he remember those words too? The time for a decision was drawing near. Several days later, we were all lounging around the inn when suddenly Nagakura cried out.
Ugh, I can't take it anymore. Let's go to Yoshiwara and have fun. What do you say? Yeah, I'll go. I've never been to Yoshiwara. Can I come too?
It seemed Nagakura wasn't the only person who was beginning to chafe under the long confinement.
Sure, you can all come. I'll make sure everybody has a good time. You are coming too, right, Sano? I'm sure there's lots of ladies out there just dying to see you. No, I'll pass this time. I just don't feel like it today. Really? Alright then, suit yourself. Forward, men. They may not be quite up to caliber of what you've come to expect from Kyoto, but Edo ladies are nothing to scoff at.
Amidst much cheering, congratulation, and general excitement, Nagakura and the men left the Kama Inn. Only Harada and I remained. Did you stay behind to talk to me or to mope? Please talk to me! In the silence, the beating of my heart seemed unnaturally loud. Even breathing seemed horribly noisy. Being alone with him seemed to make me awfully nervous, but why? Harada gazed up at the sky, his mind elsewhere. We stayed like this for a long time, until he at last began to move. Harada. The prospect of him leaving roused me to action. I didn't want him to go, not yet. I had to say something or he'd leave. Are you really sure you didn't want to go with Nagakura?
Hey, I know we go out drinking together a lot, but it's not like we're joined at the hip.
But you seem so... Are you sure you don't need to take a break?
I'm fine. Besides, it'd be bad if we both left. There'd be nobody here to guard the place.
Oh, that's true.
Man, that guy. I'll bet you money he won't be coming back tonight. If Hijikata gets back while they're still out of Yoshiwara, they're gonna be in deep crap.
He grinned at me, and for a moment he had looked, felt, and sounded the way he had before. Perhaps now was the time for me to ask. I swallowed. Harada looked as if he was about to say something. No, let me say something first! Then he seemed to notice how intently I was looking at him and frowned. Harada, don't you dare interrupt me! Don't walk away! The words were on the tip of my tongue when he spoke. No, don't interrupt!
Sorry, I was going to take a walk. I think you could stay here and keep an eye on things. Thanks.
No! Get back here! Oh. He turned and somehow managed to avoid meeting my eyes, and strode off a little too quickly. Darn it, Harada! So much for my supportive boyfriend. I sighed, and it sounded almost like a sad laugh. Of course he was avoiding me. But why would he have done anything else? I was completely useless, and my presence attracted horrible demons, literally. Every time the demons appeared, they hurt people who I cared for. If I left, then they wouldn't have to worry about the demons any longer. Well, I wouldn't count on that. Demons seemed to be allied with the other people who were fighting the Shinsengumi. I spent the rest of the day inside my room, thinking it through. At last I came to a conclusion. I would leave secretly. Of course, I would have rather helped the Shinsengumi in some way, but I didn't want to sacrifice myself to the Fury Core to do so. I didn't want to become nothing more than a tool for Sanen's experiments, but there was more to it than that. Furies were wrong. They should never have been created. Still, no matter how much I wanted to be treated like a human, it was selfish of me to want to stay. That left me with only one choice. Run away! Fortunately, Nagakura had taken most of the men on his little adventure, which meant there were fewer people around who might spot me. I left the Kama Inn, doing my best to move silently and keep to the shadows. I hadn't gotten far when...
What are you doing out this late?
I rounded a corner and suddenly saw a man standing in front of me. Why this time of all the times I could have run into him? Why are you bothering with me now when you couldn't be bothered to listen to me before? Harada.
It's not safe for a girl to be out alone, you know. Where were you going?
Excuses bubbled up in my mind, then evaporated. When I looked into his eyes, I knew that he could see through any lie I tried to tell him. I'm sorry. I broke into a run, hoping that I could sprint past him.
Hey, hold on.
His hand curled around my shoulder. What do you think you're doing? If you don't want to talk to me, then let me go.
Not so fast. You really think you can get past me?
With calm, measured strength, he turned me to face him. I couldn't bring myself to look into his eyes. I knew that if I did, then I would certainly start crying.
What's wrong? Something happened?
Are you joking?
You're not out here running an errand for someone. What are you doing?
I bit my lip.
Were you really going to leave?
Do you think you could just pretend not to see me? This is the best thing to do. I've thought it through.
Whoa, hold on a minute. How about you calm down, okay?
He let go of my shoulder and sighed heavily. This is half your fault, you know?
You remember what I said before, about how if you wanted to leave the Shinsengumi, you should come to me first. If you're really serious about this, then I'll do something about it. I'll make the arrangements and convince the rest of the guys. But this sneaking out stuff is no good. Couldn't you at least tell me why you're going? It'd really stink for everybody to come back and find out you were gone.
My cheeks turned red with shame. Was he worried about me? Would he have missed me if I disappeared mysteriously? What could I say to him? I have to say, please don't be so nice. Please, don't be so nice to me. My voice was trembling. You've done enough. You've all done so much. So I can't cause any more trouble.
Sorry, I'm not getting it. Did something happen? Did we do something to piss you off?
Yeah, you've been avoiding me. I quietly shook my head. Of course not. The men of the Shinsengumi have been nothing but kind and helpful to me.
Did you have a fight with somebody? Do you not like us anymore?
No.
Or...
It's me! You don't like me! I realized with a start I was yelling, but the river of emotions that had been unleashed was too much for me to stop. Tears began to roll down my face. I'm a demon! It doesn't matter how much I try, I'll never really be one of you! Harada was staring at me intently, but I couldn't quite make out the rest of his expression through the tears that poured out from my eyes. Don't think I'm not happy that you've all been kind to me. I'm grateful. I really am. Sobs shook my chest and made it difficult to talk, but I pushed ahead. But that's why I'm so scared. I'm scared that one day you'll all hate me because I'm a demon.
Did somebody say that? Did someone tell you we hate you someday?
They might not say so now, but someday. Sonnen had said I should join them and the rest of the Furies, that I was more like him than the humans. And not to mention Shiranui. I think of myself as part of the Shinsengumi, even though I can't fight, but I don't want to be part of the Fury Corps. And as long as I stay here, other demons will come.
Hold on a second.
I'm useless, but I want people to like me.
Chihiro, calm down.
It's selfish and pathetic, I know. I deserve to be despised. If you're going to stop me from leaving, then please, just kill me now. I felt strong arms wrap around my body and pull me close. Not just a hug, but a kiss. Rough fingers raised my head, and I felt something warm press against my lips. It all happened so suddenly that at first I couldn't tell what was going on. I saw his skin, the dark lines of his lashes. I felt his lips press gently against my own, and his hot breath mingled with mine. With some surprise, I realized at last that I was being kissed. Embarrassed, I tried to first push away, but his arms wouldn't let me. Why was he kissing me? It took me only a moment to realize that the why wasn't terribly important. What was important was that Harada was kissing me, and it felt rather nice. Only when he pulled away did I realize I was somewhat short of breath. He gave me a crooked smile.
Sorry if it was a little, rough. It's been a while since I did that. Only way I know of to get a girl to stop crying.
Oh, was that the only reason you kissed me? Don't say that. My knees felt weak, my head light. I told myself it was just because I was out of breath and managed a limp shake of my head.
Look, this probably just sounds like an excuse, but do you think you could at least hear me out? I'm pretty sure I was the one who caused this whole misunderstanding. It's not your fault, is what I'm saying. I just didn't know how to face you.
He coughed awkwardly and scratched his head. He's blushing! That's my reward. A kiss and a blush.
After all that talk about how women are supposed to be protected by men, that demon just walked all over me. I couldn't do a thing.
Harada.
I'm only human in there. I don't know. There's something a lot more than human. How am I supposed to protect you from something like that?
There was frustration in his voice, but also fear.
It was pathetic. I'm pathetic. I knew that you were worried about being a demon because you felt different. But I didn't know what I could say to you. The more I thought about it, the more I figured it'd be better to just avoid you than to open my mouth and say something stupid.
Well, you could have listened to me then. Oh, I see. I felt foolish. I'd been so focused on my own worries, I never even thought about why Harada was avoiding me. He'd been struggling with how to protect me and my feelings, and by trying to run away, I'd betrayed him.
If you want to go because you're sick of me, or sick of seeing us, then go ahead. You've got every right to. But if it's something else, then please don't go.
Harada.
Just stop worrying about feeling different and stay. Got it?
I felt my heart swell. Yes, I've got it. Oh God, I'm so glad I read this other episode tonight. Oh, my heart. Of course I wasn't sick of him. All I wanted was to feel like one of them. My cheeks were stiff with dried tears as I smiled up at Harada. He smiled back.
Good. Sounds like a deal. What do you say we head back inside?
Yeah. Could I have another kiss? One that's not meant to stop me from crying? He turned and led the way back into the inn. I raised a hand to touch my lips tentatively. I'd never been kissed before. At least, not like that. I didn't want to presume, but it had been quite a kiss.
Something wrong?
Oh, no, it's nothing. His attitude didn't seem to have changed. Perhaps it was possible that he really had just been trying to calm me down, and that really was the only way he knew to do so. That raised some interesting questions. Oh.
I knew you were feeling down, but I guess I didn't really realize how bad it had gotten.
I'm sorry. Sanen's just been really persistent lately. He keeps telling me I have to work with him in the Fury Corps if I want to be useful. I was starting to think that all of you probably felt the same way he did. Harada grimaced.
Well, he's right that the Fury Corps are important. But it's nuts to think of a girl getting involved in that. The Shinsengumi would never stoop that low.
Right. As he spoke, I felt the worries that weighed on my heart for so long begin to evaporate.
Kondo's not around, and Hijikata's gone most of the time too. There's nobody to tell Sanen to back off. As soon as Hijikata gets back, I'm sure he'll quit. Come on, let's get going.
Can I stay in your room so he won't bother me? Right. Harada and I made our way back through the darkness to the Kama Inn. A few days later, Hijikata returned from his meeting with the Shogun's ministers, where he had been since we'd arrived in Edo. He told us he had secured a Hatamoto mansion for us to use as a headquarters for the Shinsengumi. When he said that, there was a little too much excitement near the inn for them to remain. Nagakura and the men who'd gone to Yoshiwara looked uncomfortable and began to closely examine the walls and floor. Once Hijikata had returned, Sanen's nightly visits stopped, and he no longer pestered me to submit to his experiments. But the best news of all... What? Kondo, are you well?
Sorry for making you worry, but my shoulder seems to have healed just fine.
Kondo, the heart of the Shinsengumi had returned.
Now, about this war we're in. We've been ordered by the shogunate to head for Koto Castle as the Koyo Regulatory Company. Officially, we'll be there to keep the peace in accordance with the shogun's agreement with the rebels. But our real purpose there is to fortify ourselves in the castle and attack the enemy when they arrive. If we succeed, then the shogun will grant us Kofu Castle. This is a great opportunity, so I hope you're all prepared.
Kondo was grinning like a child at the prospect of becoming the master of a castle.
Oh yes, the shogunate also gave me a new name. It's Tsuyoshi Okubo. Doesn't that sound brave and manly?
I liked Kondo!
I suppose it would be a little weird for you all to have to start calling me Lord Okubo all the time, so if we've known each other a long time, you can just keep calling me Kondo.
Oh, they look so... Why are you guys so mad? Well, I guess it's because these two never really cared about serving the shogunate so much in the first place. Nagakura and Harada were both scowling, but Kondo seemed much too ecstatic to notice.
I'm not just a country samurai anymore, I'm a daimyo now. Anyone who proves themselves through exceptional service in this war will be promoted and become one of my vassals, so I hope you'll all work really hard.
Kondo's excitement at his new station had apparently made him oblivious to the feelings his men had on the matter. When he'd said the word vassals, I'd felt my heart sink. With one last giddy laugh, Kondo walked cheerily out of the room. Oh, nobody's happy about this, huh? Hichikata followed him with a frown.
What the hell? So he gets a pat on the head from the shogun, and now he's all high and mighty?
He kicked out at a desk in the corner of the room.
And with this crap about promoting us? Is this really how he sees us? It's not that long ago he was just the owner of an old worn-out dojo.
Shimada spoke up, perhaps hoping to calm Nagakura down.
Well, Kondo is the chief. He carries the highest rank of any of us. I mean, in a way, we're kind of already his vassals. I think of you as my superior, Officer Nagakura. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I don't really know how to say it. I just always felt like we were the kind of guys who didn't really care about all that rank and position stuff.
His voice was still frustrated, but his eyes looked sad.
Before we closed up Shiei Hall, we were all pretty much broke. Some days we didn't even eat. But he never acted like he was better than us. And that's why I've stuck with him so long, but now...
Well, he's in high spirits right now. Maybe it's not high and mighty, it was just happiness. Nagakura and Harada had been with Kondo when the first seeds of the Shinsengumi were planted in Edo. They longed for the days when their small dojo had felt more like a family, but no organization could stay that way forever, especially one that had grown as large as the Shinsengumi. To be reminded how much things had changed couldn't be easy for them. After a moment, Saito spoke up.
I believe in his decision. Kondo is not a man to act without thought. Besides, an efficient army requires only an iron chain of command. Camaraderie is nice, but not necessary.
Okay, there's a fair argument. I mean, it's not like I'm saying we all have to be buddies or anything. I just think that...
He continued muttering angrily to himself, although Saito's response seemed to have cowed him somewhat. I went looking for Harada once the sun had set. When I found him, I checked to make sure no one else was around before I spoke. Harada? Where's Nagakura?
He's still pissed about earlier. I'm sure he's out getting drunk somewhere.
Oh, I see. How do you feel? About what Kondo said, I mean. Harada gave a dry laugh.
I was pretty surprised. I mean, what's the point of having the position of daimyo these days? The shogun gave all his political power away to the imperial court. Now the Tokugawa are just another domain.
I didn't know how to respond. I could understand Kondo's excitement at being given a daimyo position. He'd worked hard to improve his swordsmanship and dreamt of serving the shogunate. But it seemed that his joy had blinded him to the reactions of his friends, and he was ignoring the feelings of the men he'd known for years. Harada noticed my frown and responded with a wry smile.
It's not like everyone in the Shinsengumi wants to be a daimyo, you know.
You're talking about Nagakura? He nodded.
Shinpachi was actually born into a good family. He left his domain because he was crazy about sword fighting. He gave up his samurai title because he wanted to really live by the sword. He didn't do all that just so he could become a samurai and serve some lord again.
Had Kondo forgotten that not everyone in the Shinsengumi shared his particular aspirations? Or had he never known to begin with?
I don't really know what the Shinsengumi's trying to accomplish anymore, or where it's going. Personally, I'm not interested in being a daimyo, or having anything to do with all that stiff formal crap.
I never felt this sort of anxiety from Harada back when we were living in Kyoto. Can I ask you something?
Oh, yeah, sure. What is it?
What did I want to ask? I will ask... What's your dream, Harada? What's your dream, Harada? I was more interested in what he wanted to do, not what the Shinsengumi wanted.
Huh? That's kind of an odd question. Well, my dream's pretty boring, I guess. Ordinary.
Wait, you want to get married and have kids? He looked slightly embarrassed and tried to grin to hide it. So, I still want to know. What is it? He frowned and looked around suspiciously, then leaned in close to me and spoke in a whisper.
Alright, just don't tell Shinpachi or Heisuke. I'd never hear the end of it.
I nodded, and he continued. It's true!
My dream is to get married to a woman I love and live a quiet life. I don't really care about money. I just want a job where I can make enough money that my wife and I won't live in poverty.
I can't deny I was more than a little surprised.
Yeah, pretty boring, huh?
Huh? Oh, well, I guess I'm just surprised that men have dreams like that too.
And when you live in a world that's kill or be killed, an ordinary life starts to look pretty nice. Still, the way things are going, it doesn't look like my dream's ever going to come true.
True, as long as he was a member of the Shinsengumi, it would be a difficult dream to achieve. But I'm sure it'll come true. I don't think the war can last that much longer. You might be surprised. Blossoms!
Yeah, thanks. You know, hearing you say that makes me feel like I should try and make that dream real, no matter what.
The smile he gave me was brilliant. I couldn't help but feel a little sad. After all, if he did make that dream come true, I was certain the woman he shared his life with couldn't be me. I'm a demon. Any child I gave birth to would have demon blood in its veins. How could Harada live a quiet life then? Well, if he kept it secret.
What's wrong? You look sad. Did I say something wrong?
No, it's nothing. A demon could never have a human life. Well, you kind of lived a human life up until you learned you were a demon. Harada had said, although perhaps not in so many words, that I was one of them, and I tried to tell myself that was enough. Shortly after that exchange, we left Edo for Kofu Castle. Alright, and seems like a good place to break. Oh, it was so totally worth it to do that extra episode so we could have that love moment with him. And to find out his dream. So much good stuff in one episode. Oh, finally. Progress. So, apparently the 4th chapters are the chapters to go for the good events. That's the point we gotta look forward to in all these routes, I guess. Because I don't think that anybody else is... You know, a lot of the games, the different routes tend to be around the same speed. I don't know, I guess we'll see, but I had a feeling that's how it's going to be. Alright, well anyway, hope to see you in my future videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.